welcome or welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, we're going to be looking at 10 different 2-page weekly spread layouts so you can find a lot of inspiration for the perfect layout for your bullet journal. For each spread, I'll also be giving you a lot of different ideas on how you can customize it, and just for your reference, I'm going to be using my Tumbi Mary bullet journal in the A5 size. So for the first couple of 2-page weekly spreads, we're really going to focus on symmetrical layouts because I feel like these are very beginner friendly. So what I did with the first weekly spread is that you can divide each page into 4 equal pieces. And this layout is very intuitive and easy to use, especially for a beginner. You don't have to think too much about how you want to divide your pages. You can simply divide your page into 4 equal sections, and it really gives you all of that space and flexibility to have each square for each day of the week. When you divide the page into 4 equal sections, it's gonna leave you with 1 extra space. And the extra square can be the dedicated space for any notes, event tracker, habit tracker, a quote, any doodles, or even a calendar. It's really up to you on how you want to use up this extra square. It really depends on your lifestyle and what you need in your weekly spread. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is taking up all of the space. What if I want to add some of my own designs? Well, what you can do is create shorter squares to have more space to decorate the top and the bottom parts of the spread. And this is great if you like to be more creative with your bullet journal. It also gives you more space to create a habit tracker, a quote, or anything like that at the bottom of the page as well. So if ever you want more space for decoration and less space for your actual daily tasks, just know that you can simply customize the spread by adjusting the length of your rectangles. And for the extra square, I use this again as a space for the calendar. I find it really helpful to be able to have this calendar layout because it helps me see what week of the month that we're currently on. For the extra space at the bottom of the weekly spread, I decided to decorate it with some clouds using my brush pen. So to be able to create this gradient effect for the clouds, I used 2 different brush pens from the Tombow set. And the lighter pink color that I use is the pen number 761, and the darker pink color that I use is the color 772. I also decided to use the space at the top on the weekly spread to put an empowering quote, and I decided to choose "Trust the timing of your life." I find this is a really great quote to help me stay present and mindful. You can also decide to do 3 squares on each page instead of 4. This is a really great option if you don't have too much going on for the weekend and you would rather combine Saturday and Sunday into 1 square to maintain that symmetrical look in your weekly spreads. You can also create a vertical divider, and you can use this space to create a really fun doodle or have a really fun lettering style for each day of the week and the dates as well. So to decorate this weekly spread, I decided to use the lettering stencil that I got from AliExpress. Everything that I use in this video is going to be linked in the description down below, and if you're new to bullet journaling and you really want to jumpstart your bullet journal journey, I also included a free bullet journal starter guide that also has a lot of tips and other layout ideas for you to get started. It's totally free and you can find the download link in the description as well. To customize this weekly spread to your lifestyle, instead of making the square shorter, you can actually make the rectangles less wide so that we can also use up the space on the sides of the weekly spread. And so in this case, I'm making the same 3 rectangles on each page, but I'm making sure to keep some space on each side. This is definitely one of my go-to weekly spread layouts because I just love how flexible it is. You have so much space to do whatever you want, and each week can be different depending on what you decide to decorate the sides with. I also really love this spread because you can also play around with the type of headers that you use for the titles in the columns on the side. So for example, in this weekly spread, I decided to keep the calendars and I also wanted to add a sleep tracker as well. And I decided to use a gradient lettering effect to give the page a little bit more color and pop. Just under that, I also decided to put a little space for any notes. I also really love creating layouts like this because you can easily turn it into a Dutch Door weekly spread. All you need to do is cut off that excess part of the page where you have that extra space. I won't do it in this example here, but I do have another video where I go in depth on creating Dutch Door weekly spreads, so make sure to check out that video after this one if you're interested to see more Dutch Door weekly spreads. So in here, I decided to use the extra space for an event tracker and also a more detailed habit tracker as well. So in the bullet journal weekly spread that we just created, we created some horizontal rectangles. But what you can also do to switch things up is to create some vertical rectangles. So that's what we're going to do in this next 2-page weekly spread is we're going to have 3 vertical rectangles on each side of the page. And if you want to decorate the spread a little bit more, you can also include a little circle where you want to put the details of the dates, or you can even include a small little doodle. So for this example, I drew some little clouds so that I can write the dates of the week. It's such a simple way for you to decorate your bullet journal, but it also gives such a nice pop and color. If you want to add even more separation to your bullet journal, you can also add some more horizontal lines. That way you can have a separation between any of your notes, your to-do list, your daily thoughts, or even just any habits that you want to track for each day as well. When looking at the previous weekly spread example, we had different sections on the outer sides of the weekly spread. So for example, on the right outer side of the weekly spread, we had our own little section for the calendar and notes. Then we had a section for the weekly spread itself. And then on the left side, we also had a separate section for even more habit trackers and events. But what we can also do to customize our weekly spread even more is that instead of creating sections on the outer side of the weekly spread, we can also create our own unique section in the middle. And this is a really great way for you to add some designs or doodles in the middle of your bullet journal. I find that having a design in the middle can really make the page feel really cohesive, and it just flows really well together with the weekly spread. Before we start creating the center design, I also like to put some washi tape just so any of the colors doesn't really bleed out of the lines. So if you have any washi tape lying around, feel free to use this as well. And for the design, I'm going to be drawing some simple black rectangles and vary the shape. I really want this to mimic the look of the city. And then behind that, I'm also going to draw some pink skies and draw some pink clouds to really match the overall theme that we've had so far. So this is a really easy way for you to design the stuff in the middle. Of course, you can change it to any design that you want. If you don't want to draw anything, you can also use any solid color, or you can even use some washi tapes to design the middle of the weekly spread as well. And then once you're done with the drawing, you can simply take up the washi tape to reveal your beautiful new weekly spread. I also like to leave a lot of space at the top just so I can add a little bit of other features that I want to keep in my weekly spread. As always, I really like to keep a calendar for each weekly spread. Then I also wanted to add a little notepad for any reminders or any important notes. And something else that I've been wanting to include in my bullet journal is to also have a playlist of the week. So you can include any song that you've been really obsessed with. Lately with the quarantine, I feel like I haven't been exploring any new music as much. Instead, I've been kind of re-listening to any of my old favorites, and right now I've just been obsessed with Lani all over again. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of songs you guys are interested in. I definitely need to explore and find some new music. Instead of creating 2 lines down the page to create your design, you can also use duct tape to create a circle center design. I'm not going to show you guys in this example here, but this is something that I did in my other video in my 8 different types of weekly spreads, so make sure to check that out if you want to see an example. However, another way that we can create a center design is to also create a horizontal line. This one is super easy to create and it always looks really stunning. All you need to do is create a line in the middle half of the page, and then you can write a letter for each day of the week, and you can alternate by writing above or below the line in the middle. I love this spread because it literally takes me less than 10 minutes to create. If you don't want to draw anything, that's perfectly fine. I decided to decorate it with these clouds because again, these designs are very quick and easy for me to create. Now, it's time for us to talk about some asymmetrical weekly spread layouts as well. These are also really great for you to create because they can be super fun and be really flexible as well. And the first example that we're gonna create is we're gonna have 3 squares on one side and 4 squares on the other side. And so this kind of already gives it that uneven, asymmetrical, fun look to it. And again, with the extra space, you can put anything that you want. For once, I'm actually not putting a calendar in this weekly spread. Instead, what I'm gonna do is mimic a little sticky note and put an empowering quote to remind me for this week. I decided to go with the quote, "You're exactly where you need to be." This has been such a powerful reminder that I have been needing over and over again, and so I decided to just put that in my bullet journal so that it's always visible to me. And then I decided to put another playlist section as well, and I also wanted to include a detailed habit tracker so that I can always note down the habits that I'm doing throughout the week as well. For the extra space at the bottom, I find this is the perfect place for you to note down any upcoming events, whether it's for this week or next week, or I also like to put this as a section for any notes that I want to write throughout the week. To make this weekly spread even more dynamic, you can also vary where you're placing the squares so that they're not perfectly aligned with each other. I find this works really well when you're working with an asymmetrical layout because there's already that level of asymmetry. I find that it looks really fun and dynamic. It's kind of like an organized chaos. I also like to use the extra space for some doodles to really fit the theme, and another thing that I really like to do in my weekly spread is to also take my brush pen and use that as the number of the date in the boxes. I find this works really well, especially when you're using a really light pastel color. I find that it's such a nice subtle design while also looking elegant and keeping it minimalist all at the same time. Another asymmetrical weekly spread layout that we can also use is to have 6 squares on one side and 2 squares on another. And with the extra square, I usually like to use this for any notes or anything that I need to look out for next week. And I really like this because on the page where you only have 2 squares, it gives you so much space to do whatever you want. And I typically like to do this whenever I want to include a really big habit tracker or mood tracker that is going to take up more space in my weekly spread. So especially when tracking something is really crucial for me that week, then this is when I typically like to go for this spread. I also find this spread really helpful if you find that you're someone that forgets to use your trackers, especially if it's on a separate page. I find that I always forget to turn into the page where I have my trackers, and so I always found it so helpful to have my trackers in the same page as my weekly spread. you guys enjoyed these 2-page weekly spread layout ideas. I hope that they were able to give you some ideas and inspiration for your own bullet journal. Let me know in the comments down below if you had a favorite layout, and if you guys want to see more inspiration, I also have another video where I talk about the 8 different types of bullet journal weekly spreads, so make sure to check it out, and I hope to see you in another one of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching!